Welcome, Dice Goblins, thinking goo, ethereal, and physical bodies, to DiceBrain. We are your hosts, Nicholas
and Sebastian.
And today we're going to be diving headfirst into the brain and the dice. Let's look at Dungeons & Dragons and its full potential as therapy.
So let's get this out of the way. What is D&D? D&D stands for Dungeons & Dragons. What is a dungeon?
Dark, damp, scary, terrifying, sometimes nightmare fuel, some people would describe it as.
Wrong. It's a very comfortable place where you can constantly sleep on a good bed of moss.
That sounds about right.
Okay, cool. What's a dragon?
Big, fire-breathing, scaly, sometimes not fire-breathing. Maybe blue?
I was about to call you on that.
Yeah.
There's different types.
I know what's up.
Okay. Now, what does and mean?
Also.
I'll accept that, but only for now.
Cool.
Now, for the more scholarly listener out there, D&D was created in the 70s. It was heavily influenced by J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. That's why you've got elves. That's why you've got dwarves. You got wizards. You got stuff like that. Obviously, there's different editions of Dungeons and Dragons because it originally wasn't wizard. It was like mage.
Yep.
But it is a game where your imagination pretty much makes the entire story. You overcome obstacles, whether that be trying not to die constantly from monsters or just convoluted social interactions that you don't really want to be in because they can get awkward.
Oh, yeah. Awkward situations, trying not to die from monsters, trying not to die from stupid stuff you decide to do yourself, like, jumping
Which
over
you do
pits of
all
lava.
the time.
Well, we have fun here, okay? I'm not going to take your judgment. We like to have fun. It's all improv, it's a good time. We don't... It's good. Don't worry about it.
Continue. Go ahead.
I really will. So, it's that culmination of fun, trying out new things, getting into the innovation and, just having a good time with it. So the whole improv part of it is the most fun. And that's kind of why, I wanted to bring in the topic of improv and therapy, where, there have been many studies done about like how improv can help people and how, kind of building up confidence, creating a safe space, just kind of joking about it. And it's a community building thing. So, for example, like someone like Alison Sheesley and her colleagues have, got together. They got a bunch of people together. So
they just made a party?
Pretty much, yeah. They got a big party together. They got a group together
in a tavern.
I wish. I hope so. I would love if it was in a tavern. Honestly.
We can only hope.
I really hope so. But basically, they got everyone together, kind of broke them up into small groups, and just had fun. Give a random prompt and let your imagination flow. It's just good times.
So, in order to help with coping or working through various like mental blocks, what I'm gathering from what you just said was that they pretty much played a game of change, which for listeners, if you don't know, is where one person starts a conversation and then another person responds at any point in that conversation. And so the other person decides to stand on their head, and as you just heard, at any point someone can say the word change.
Yeah.
And the person who was speaking normally now has to say something usually funny, ridiculous,
change
that maybe put on some clown shoes, honk their nose a bit, and I don't know how I'm falling for this every time.
Change.
Of course I'm falling for this every time. Anyways, back to your therapy bit.
Yeah. So I had some fun messing around there, but as you hear, it's just you get to it's fun. It's a way to relax,
change.
It's a way to cause major confusion, but in all seriousness, it's a way to just, enjoy humor, again, build up confidence. And, it's kind of just, it lets everything else melt away. You're just having fun with friends. So I think it's an interesting way to look at therapy where it's just, like they say, laughter is the best medicine.
I mean, as much as that's overused, I would tend to agree. And the great thing about this is that this model isn't even like, ethnicity specific, because you don't need to know English for this. You don't need to know whatever. You just need to be able to talk with someone else, because I believe you found one from Japan.
That is very true. Like there was a study done in Japan on like high school students who were suffering from like depression and like PTSD from one of the earthquakes that had happened, and they kind of did the same thing where they took all the students and brought them together, had them in groups again, and like did the same thing. They got them in groups, they told jokes, built up confidence, made new friends, built connections, and again, just all in a safe space. There's no judgment. You're just there to laugh, bring a smile to someone's face, and have an overall good time.
So we've been in a game for a while, almost a year, by the way. We're about a month and a half away from being a full year in the campaign.
That's fun.
I noticed that there's definitely a level of self-confidence and improv skills that comes with playing D&D. I know as the DM, who's that's Dungeon Master for you listeners, who's played, about 5 years of D&D at this point.
Experienced.
I'm experienced, and at this point, I'm very comfortable speaking in front of people, doing improv, having self-confidence. How has your self-confidence changed throughout Dungeons and Dragons? Even if it's not, it's definitely not therapy the way we play it, but
not quite. But I see what you mean.
This is a game.
Yeah, even from like when we first started, I will say like I wasn't doing voices. I wasn't like entirely sure how to play my character. And then, once we started playing a little bit, I like got a little more comfortable. I kind of got to know the group of people we're playing with. And, now I've gotten into a better groove of like, okay, I feel a little more confident, playing the character. And, it's been a lot of fun just, move into that character and, we don't have to worry about, what's going on around us. It's just us having fun, throwing voices, jokes. It's, I will say, I feel like it definitely has, made me a little more confident in myself. Because I know it's helped build a skill of just like bringing myself a little more confidence into just like being spontaneous. Have a joke to crack every once in a while.
Was that supposed to be funny?
Definitely. Yeah. No, I'm surprised you're not laughing. Honestly.
Well, I might if I wasn't doing the voice right now.
Look at this guy, improv master over here. 5 years DM. Look at that.
Okay, now you're just making me feel old. And, okay. What a segue. Speaking of old.
Really?
Speaking of old, the whole improv as a therapy thing is not a new idea. Calling it improv therapy is. So, previously, some people may be familiar with the term roleplay therapy. This was established mid-1940s, like a little during and then shortly after World War II to help a lot of veterans kind of disassociate in a healthy way. Instead of, the PTSD, a lot of soldiers suffer from it. Mm-hmm. Instead of sitting in the trenches of your own mind, you're able to kind of take a step back from everything, because it wasn't like it was, lollipops and dandelions when they came back home either.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it's a way to kind of help them like reacclimate is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. It was very structured back then, with very limited allowed with heavy quotations on that.
Okay.
Forms of roleplay therapy. Yeah. Like there was only certain roles that the therapist could take. Therapy still wasn't, a huge thing, especially for big, strong soldier man doesn't need therapy.
Yeah. Of course not. No, they're big, strong men. Why would their brains need any issues?
Oh yeah, no, not at all. But as the years have passed, the restraints on it have relaxed. It's been, help me do math, man.
Oh, look, you're asking the wrong person.
60 years.
Just about.
It's been just about 60 years.
So tell me, what's changed in 60 years?
So this actually, the biggest change happened about 40 years after it was first introduced to the public. There is now a federally recognized play therapy association. Well, I said that all backwards. Association of Play Therapy.
That one.
That's APT for short. It's federally recognized and founded as of the 1980s. I couldn't get an exact date on that.
Okay.
And it kind of establishes the precedent that you can play and learn and heal. So this play therapy is slightly different from roleplay therapy, because play therapy just allows for more like things to be on the fantastical side.
Yeah.
Such as the Dungeons and Dragons that we're talking about here. Instead of being, I am the therapist, how do you feel?
Yeah.
You can now go, Alduin the Silver-Tongued, you are about to slay the dragon. Roll me a wisdom saving throw.
And then I can stand here and go, all right, I'm a roll, and I got a 2. So how does that look for me?
You got a 2. Lord have mercy on your soul.
Oh, well, it's not looking great.
No, it's not.
But we're learning.
You start with the legs of a chicken. You skipped leg day for 5 years.
That is quite unfortunate.
That is. Now, play therapy has allowed for therapists to have fun with their clients, which I think is super important. That is one of the, that's why it's a game.
Yeah.
And that's why it's called play therapy.
It makes sense.
You're supposed to have fun because, if we're being honest, the world's really depressing sometimes. Yeah. So having a little fun separate from the world, kind of good.
Yeah, and that's a lot of things. Like when people think of therapy, they think of, one person sitting there with a notebook, the other person sitting there in a chair laying down, and it's like, how do you feel today? How does this make you feel? What happened when this happened?
Stare at this ink blot for 25 seconds and tell me what animals you see between the lines.
Yeah, and that's going to deduce how your mental state is. I feel like this is such a more interesting and fun way to go about it, because it's like everybody can have fun about it, and the therapist gets to do a job that's it may be a little more in depth, because I know being a DM isn't easy work.
No.
But it is rewarding in a sense that like you can create a story and have people go through it and enjoy it, and it's a way to bring smiles to people's faces, which is why I feel a lot of people go into that field of therapy. My only question is this something that's kind of just reserved to like adults or like a certain group of people, or is it more widespread at this point?
Oh, it's widespread. Honestly, as far as the internet goes, because the let's talk about age range, I guess, since you brought that up.
Yeah.
Much like how Lego is like, what is it, 9 to 99?
Yeah.
Dungeons and Dragons is like, can you speak? Cool. Perfect. That's all we care about. So this form of therapy has been used for, as I said, adults and soldiers before, but also children, because it is easy for an adult to do the roleplay therapy because they can put themselves in another's role.
Mm-hmm.
They can understand that as the new person that they are pretending to be, they still learn consequences. A child, when they try and pretend to be someone else, first of all, it's a lot harder for them. And second of all, it's, oh, I'm not me. There are no consequences. Having a sibling, we both know that is very apparent. It's like, oh, I'm not me. I'm Batman. That's why I can beat you up. Yeah. So pretty much. But then this is where the distinction between roleplay therapy and play therapy comes in. Because play therapy does go for the, I guess, younger people in therapy.
Okay.
Because instead of learning from becoming someone else, instead of going, you are person X and you go through this scenario, instead of that, the play therapy allows for a scenario to happen in front of the child.
Mm-hmm.
And then that child learns from the scenario, not the people in it. So say you've got Batman and Superman.
Yeah.
Batman kicks Superman.
Fair
Superman
enough.
goes, ow. And you say sorry. Batman says sorry and helps Superman. The child then learns, hey, you should say sorry when you hurt someone. But also, you probably just shouldn't hurt someone. And it's through the scenario, not the people.
Got you. So it's the situational awareness, so to speak.
Pretty much. And that's often a skill that is hard learned for a lot of children.
Yeah.
Because as a child, you're often protected. But in these scenarios, it's very I'm not going to say easy because
Yeah.
almost nothing is easy. But in these scenarios, it's easier to point out obvious trends in behavior.
Got you. So it's a very good way to teach like empathy and sympathy within a child by showing them like, hey, this is what should have happened. This is what happened. This is the correct response.
Essentially. And real quick, roll me initiative.
Right. Let's see. I'm going to tell you that I got a 16.
16. Roll me your perception real quick.
Oh, that's fun. That's 2?
You don't hear it.
Hear it?
It.
What do you mean by it?
You want to know what it is?
I would love to know what it is.
It is an ad for BetterHelp. Because you know what? You know what? I am tired of you sending hobgoblins over to raid my shop every Tuesday. I've set so many... You know how much debt I'm in because of the traps that I've had to set? Because you just keep sending the hobgoblins over?
Look, I promise you, I asked them one time to just run over and grab me like one it didn't mean it got blown out of proportion.
Oh yeah, just once. That's what they all say. You know what? Now I need therapy. What are you going to do? Are you going to pay for my therapy? What am I supposed to do? I don't have anything to sell, so I don't have the money to get it.
Okay, look, big problem, but I'm here. Look, I made the mistake. I'm here to help you. So I'm going to tell you to just go to, it's real easy. I'll give you a scrying stone. Take no time. Go to betterhelp.com and, you can secure an appointment. And it won't cost you much. I know you don't have a lot of... It's not a big deal. It will be fine. I promise you. You can reach out to a therapist. Talk to them. They'll help you out.
I don't trust you. That scrying stone could blow up in my face.
Okay. Understandable. I see what happened here. But look, I'm trying to be trustworthy. I'm trying to help you, all right? I promise.
So what if I do trust you? Are you saying that I could become my own hero? I could defeat the hobgoblins myself? Is that what you're saying?
I absolutely. Through one of the, by talking to one of the site's valiant therapists, absolutely. You could become your own hero. You know what? How about this? You go to the appointment. I'll pay for your first appointment. How about that, right? Could we agree to that?
I feel like I should warn you that I definitely sent over a dragon over to your house.
You what?
I think it's there. No.
Please,
Stop.
All right. Well, kind of, bringing it back a little bit from our fun there. Going back into the therapy side of this, just kind of some miscellaneous kind of facts about therapy, stuff like that, to kind of, widen that perspective. So on that fact, there've been, a lot of studies and a lot of just basic knowledge, which is good to know, where the therapist and psychiatrist, it's good for them to have the patient trust them. And it's hard to get that, I feel like, in a normal setting where, you're sitting there and it's just like, you have the whole, cliche thing. It's like, hey, this is an ink blot. What does this look like to you? You're laying in a bed. How does this make you feel?
Which, by the way, those are not good tests to begin with, but having trust is definitely a huge part of not only the therapy part and the relationship, because you have to have a working relationship to actually open up.
Yeah.
And by opening up, then you can get help. But if you're just sitting there going, I am responding to your questions as you ask them to me, it's not the same. But the combination of D&D and therapy here really amplifies the need for trust, because as a player, as you know, you trust the DM to make a good story. You trust the DM
absolutely
to make things interesting. You don't trust the DM not to kill your character, because at a point that's kind of the DM's job, is to create these battles and these conflicts that have the possibility of death, maimment, XYZ. Obviously, the therapist is not doing that in real life, but the whole thing of actions have consequences, and the trust that both the DM and the players have in each other that translates directly to the therapist or psychiatrist and the patient, because you need that trust. You need that relationship back and forth, or else it's not going to be like a substantial amount of change in your life.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was getting at. It's that like mutual trust in between like the player and the DM, because it is that important. And I feel like you said, D&D is a great way to go about it.
Yeah, so the trust is like a foundation. That is a foundational level of both therapy and D&D, because you go into therapy with the thought, I'm going to get help. I'm going to get better. You go into a Dungeons and Dragons session, I'm going to have fun. I'm going because this is intriguing. So you combine the two and you're going, I'm going to have fun while getting help.
Yeah. And it's a great thing to see. Like there have been studies done where just in a general psychiatric I guess study, it was done by a group that kind of took a different approach where it wasn't so much D&D, but it was a way that they could have fun with it and to build up the trust in the psychiatrist and such like that. They actually went and did live action role play, which is shorter and more commonly referred to as LARPing. And this was actually in the UK. And it kind of did the same thing. It's like instead of sitting down in a room, you got outside, you made new friends, had fun, and just kind of had told a story, had fun, did some physical activity, got sunlight, and it worked really well for them.
Yeah, I mean, I know that as cliche as it sounds, sunlight is actually very important for mental health, due to a bunch of vitamin D and other chemical factors that I'm not going to go into here. Yeah, the science stuff.
Oh yeah,
but I keep going back to this, but it is healthy disassociation.
Yeah.
Because you are no longer yourself bound by your, mortal coils or any problems that you have. You are now Sir Frederick V, Earl of Nightington, and you can play as that character. And then once all is said and done, you've had this sort of creative release enough to kind of help squelch the issues, but then there's chances to actually learn something from those.
Yeah.
Like confidence boosting. You've got better at improv, which actually is just a good life skill. Because if you go into a job interview, sure, they have a set of questions, but how you respond to those set of questions, because you don't have them.
Yeah.
But how you respond is more often than not improv. And if you're good at improving and you're good at giving good answers, it can just help you in general.
Absolutely. It's confidence building is really what it is. And like you said, healthy association, it's cool to walk around your everyday life being, this, John from accounting, but it's cool to, go on the weekends and be Sir Gideon Ofnir on occasion,
Okay, I see what you did there.
Aha.
Yeah, the therapy behind it is very sound at this point. But I think we need to kind of explain more why Dungeons and Dragons a bit.
Okay.
So here's a question for you. Dungeons and Dragons, it's a game that's had a turbulent past. It had been tried to be shut down several times. Ownership is sketchy. Depending on what era you're looking at, it's gone through several different iterations.
Yeah.
But it has, spawned a bunch of spin-offs, such as Pathfinder, that's one. And it's involved, thousands, if not millions of people at this point. So all that's great for a game.
Yeah.
But why use it for therapy?
there have been so many studies done by people who have actually applied D&D as a form of therapy that it's proven itself. It's gone through its paces and it's really shown how effective it can be. I believe I had mentioned to you before the study done by I want to say it was Michael Sargent, and also one by Wayne Blackgammon, where Blackgammon had kind of taken a younger man with, I believe he described it as a schizoid personality, and kind of, as he describes it, which is similar to the way you say it, is a healthy form of disassociation, where you can, he went through, played the game, and learned, valuable lessons by going through this fantastical land and going through different encounters with the people in that land.
Yeah, and you did mention those, and for the Blackgammon one, I think it's important to point out is that you said schizoid personality.
Yes.
So another interesting thing is multi-personality disorder or bipolar personality disorder. Those exist, and stuff like this, roleplay, can be used as an effective, not treatment, but effective therapy for it, because it allows the person to differentiate like the who's speaking sort of deal. By becoming another person, they're now able to look in sort of a third person point of view while playing this game and figure out, okay, so this is this is this, I am here, okay, and like just kind of come to grasp with it.
Yeah, and like it's amazing that you can kind of get through all that with something that people like. A lot of, I mean, it is a game. I was going to say a lot of people consider it a game, but no, I mean, D&D is a game. But to think that it's as effective as it is it works like it works amazingly.
I mean, I would agree. As a 5-year player at this point, I love the game. But we're on the younger side of the spectrum, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And the phrase, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, can you with D&D?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. In one of the other studies, they had a group of people ranging from 18 to 64. That
is quite an age range.
So, yeah.
It's not quite Lego, but we're getting there.
It's up there, It's impressive though to see, like, even because they'll split up these people into groups, but you have 18-year-olds and 16-year-olds, 50-year-olds all in the same groups, and you get different perspectives, and you can learn life lessons in a fantasy game just from playing with these people.
That's probably the best way to do it, is just to have as different people as you possibly can all playing the same game, because you are going to learn so much about each other and about how people think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a very valuable lesson, is to be able to understand that there's probably almost nobody in the world who thinks exactly like you do, and being able to compromise and figure out how to think with people that think completely differently than you is such a valuable skill in life.
Oh, absolutely. Like, because it's that same thing of just getting life experience it's priceless, really. And to go about it this way, it's, giving you that safe space in where you can explore every aspect of getting that experience that you need to get out in life and, have the confidence to talk to people or understand why someone's acting a certain way.
And to your point of people already doing this, Adam Davis co-founded a Dungeons & Dragons therapy group called Wheelhouse Workshop. It was based in Seattle and Kirkland, so up in Washington.
Okay.
Adam is a licensed therapist, and he saw that roleplay, or just play in general, opened up a side to kids that they don't usually show. So this, intrigued him.
Mm-hmm.
And as a therapist, he wants to help kids, and this is how he did it. But, since then, a Wheelhouse Workshop has, it hasn't been disbanded, but it has changed. It's become Game to Grow. This happened around 2017.
Okay.
And it's a non-profit organization specializing in therapy through play. And their, their mission is that they are dedicated to the use of games of all kinds for therapeutic, educational, and community growth, which I think is fabulous, fantastic. I almost said fantabulous, and I'm like, wait, that's not an actual word.
I mean, that's a great word to use, even if it isn't real, because it's amazing to see how effective something like that can be. Because I mean, it's great to see, because like you said, it gives those children a side that you don't normally see, how else would that affect them?
Well, I mean, a large portion of like the effect is that the children now have power, which is not something that children normally have.
True.
It's like, oh, my mom told me to do this. Time to go do it. Oh, my dad told me to do this. Time to go do this. My teacher told me to do this. Now I got to go do it. It's all this I was told, so now I do. Now with play, they have this opportunity to exert their own force of authority, which is something a lot of kids really like push for. They really want to become their own. That's the whole part of growing up.
Yeah.
I've actually found an article by Charles Schaefer and Athena Drews that sums it up partially.
Okay.
Actually pretty well. It says play can provide a child the sense of power and control that comes from solving problems and mastering new experiences, ideas, and concerns. So as a child, you're often sheltered from a lot of things. It's like, take out the trash, not what is the socioeconomic, convolution here between taking out the trash on Monday versus the usual trash days that are on Fridays in our area code.
Yeah, that one.
It's not complex. It's like,
exactly,
do the simple chore. Don't worry about anything else.
Mm-hmm. It's
do your homework.
Task, don't ask questions.
Yeah, do your homework. If you have questions about the homework, you can ask, but don't go off and look at all these complex and depressing things that life holds.
Yeah.
It's a protected sense, but being in this environment of play and just, hey, I can do pretty much whatever I want with this authority, with these toys, with this story. It gives the child a sense of control they've never had while still being technically guarded.
Yeah, it's a protected way to play where they can still, experiment and learn who they are and how to act in the world.
Yeah, and especially like when COVID hit, obviously a lot of connectedness between people kind of fell off. There's a lot more people who are, socially anxious.
Yeah.
There's a lot more people who just generally want to avoid interactions with people.
That makes sense. I mean, even in this example, I have a younger brother, and it makes sense. He had to go into he had to do school online when COVID started, and once they got all the kids back into the classrooms, we were hearing from all the teachers that like it's hard to get them to focus. It was like they didn't know how to act around each other. So that it makes sense that this would be a great way to go about socializing.
I mean, absolutely. Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, you can play it online, you can play it face to face, but I think for people who are like more socially anxious, doing it online first and slowly coming to the agreement of, hey, we're going to do 3 sessions a week. 2 of those will be online. 1 of those is going to be in person. And then you progress. 1 of those is going to be online. 2 of those is going to be in person. And then you progress. Let's just have them all in person.
Yeah.
It's one of those situations where you can actually track this progress of social interaction and confidence with both the roleplay that takes place and what medium you're using. And the important thing here is that the skills practiced in the game are transferred into real world experiences. So the confidence, we keep going back to improv. I mean, it's a lot of improv.
It really is.
The life lessons that you learn of actions have consequences, be good and good will be done to you. Don't steal.
Yeah. Treat others how you want to be treated. All that fun stuff. It really and we do, I feel like a broken record sometimes because we do keep repeating a lot of stuff, but I mean, that's what it is. At its core, D&D can teach you a lot of fundamental and good values. And in the past, it may have it was, I guess, demonized. I guess that's not the right word. I
mean, at one point, yeah, it literally was considered satanic. So demonized is a correct word that you could use.
Yeah. So it was made out to be the villain, and it's great to see the progress that has come to where now it's being applied in these medical settings to help people be more what's the word I'm looking for, like
widespread.
Yeah.
Or accepted.
I guess I'm trying to think extroverted. Like they're sociable. That's what I'm looking for.
That's the word. Gotcha.
Helping to people to be more sociable, but just it's confidence building again.
Yeah. I mean, the community of D&D, in my experience, has been one of the strongest communities I've ever been a part of. Because, I mean, we're talking since the 70s, people have been fighting for this game to live.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone through several iterations because people keep playing. It's gone through, I mean, several lawsuits at this point. It's gone through several demonizations throughout the years, especially in the 80s and early 90s. Once it became like the 2000s, like 2004, 2005, it was pretty smooth sailing. But even then, the company that owns it, Wizards of the Coast, have been trying sort of recently to put up a new open gaming license that pretty much means that any content made by a third-party creator, including like us, if we were to record, they could seize both the profits and the rights to it. So there was some issues there, but the community fought back. The community won a fight against a couple $1 billion corporation, and now they're just like, okay, we'll just consolidate the information and you can keep playing how you were.
Yeah.
We fought back, which is something that I really, really, really think is important for D&D, is that it is so long lasting. The community is so good, and it's a great community to be in, especially if you have these feelings of doubt. Because in my experience, personally, I can't speak for everyone, it is one of the most accepting communities I've ever seen.
I'd agree with that. I mean, granted, we're all playing with like friends, so that may influence my decision. But from everything I've seen, just in general about the community, it really is just an accepting community in general. Like everybody gets along, and if you don't get along, which I can't even say I've seen that. It's just to the effect like everybody is here to have fun. Everybody is here to enjoy an adventure, listen to a good story, just have a good time, really.
That's the point of D&D. It is to have fun. Now, reeling it back just a little bit here.
Yeah.
Back to D&D and therapy, it's already, as you said, it's already being used. There's an example in Minnesota, two therapists, it's Alison Battles and Thomas Quinlan. Mm-hmm. Sorry if I butchered your name, Thomas. Not good at pronouncing last names.
Thomas's name? Oh, last names. Okay.
Last name was Quinlan, I think. But they use D&D and other TTRPGs or tabletop role-playing games to help veterans. Veterans with PTSD, just like anxiety and stuff. And that, as you said, confidence booster. It is a sociable skill. It helps with disassociation. It helps with calming down the mind and going for like just a general calmness through this play.
Yeah. And it's really amazing to see how far it's come. And just I'm honored, and like I'm happy that I was able to start playing and join the community, because it's been a blast, and delving into it, all the stories, the like background information, the lore, it's just a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, D&D has a lot of lore, and I understand if you don't want to like jump into it. It's like all the FromSoft game, the Souls games.
Yeah.
A lot of it, you don't see any lore when you're playing it, but if you want to, the material is there technically.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Just a little recap I think we should do.
Yeah, just what did we learn today?
That is a great question. So, what did we learn? Well, we learned that D&D, made in the 70s, primarily based off of J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings series, has gone through several iterations at this point. It is a play version of something called roleplay therapy. Roleplay therapy was established in the mid-40s.
Yep, that sounds about right.
All right, just making sure I got all this good. That was English.
Close enough.
And then roleplay therapy is based off of the principle of improv. Now, improv, as we've stated before, is the unscripted reaction to a prompt. And then improv
the
Roleplay
improv,
therapy.
all that fun stuff.
Yeah. Then roleplay therapy became play therapy as it got more accepted, more widespread, and the age range increased.
Mm-hmm.
And then, from play therapy comes Dungeons and Dragons off to the side. They were separated, whatever. But Dungeons and Dragons at its core is improv. Play therapy at its core is improv.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, within the last 20 or so years, people have brought them together, shaken hands, and said, this is a great platform to use. They've already used it for, as you said, anyone from young children all the way up to 64, teenagers, veterans, anyone.
It really does. It's inclusive. Anyone can play.
And I think the biggest takeaway for any listener right now is do not be afraid to try D&D if you've heard bad things. Don't be afraid of therapy either. Everyone needs some help at some point. Mm-hmm. But I cannot wait for this form of therapy and this platform to grow.
Oh yeah. It's I really hope to see it all. And it's going to be a great time. But I got to say, that's all the orb pondering for today.
Remember to think as you roll
and understand your possibilities.
Until next time, travelers, stay safe out there.